So you should see something that says custom live streaming. Woohoo! We are live. Hey, y'all, I am here with DJ Strick. Also here with Alla. Thank you both for being here because I got a bunch of nosy questions that I want to ask you real quick. Cool glasses, Alla.
Thank you.
So I want to start us off by saying virtual event producers, virtual event strategists, virtual event professionals. We are actually here with people who have done the work and know what they're doing. So yay for us. So DJ Strick, Alla, again, thank you guys for being here. I'm Erica Bates, and I'm here to learn from these two.
That's funny. Erica, thank you for the invitation. You know, I could not turn down a chance to hang out with you.
I appreciate that. I hadn't seen Alla in so long, and Alla does amazing stuff with events. So I'm really excited to learn from her. And Jonaed is here also. Jonaed, thank you for being here. I was just telling people that I get to hang out with brilliant folks. And yeah, I really appreciate that because I'm about to learn, because I'm about to ask you guys some nosy questions. So first off, I want to know, when you started virtual events, who was the first person that hired you and what was that job like? Anybody want to take that?
I'll go first. I hired myself accidentally. It was, I'll share the quick story. I met some people on LinkedIn. I network a lot, and we were just hanging out on Zoom calls for a couple hours at night. It'd be like 4 a.m. Like, what do we do? What's the next move? We don't know what's going to happen. And then we started hanging out on a platform called Remo. We're like, they were going to do a price increase. I'm like, yo, we got to get it in before the price increase. We got to get the top plan. And we were just hanging out. And through that, we learned the platform in and out. And we started like hosting little events together. I remember we got our first client for like, I think $250. And we were so happy. We're like, oh my God, we made $250. You know, that's more than zero. And then we got my high school as a client. And then that's kind of how it was. Like, my business partner had some trade show experience. We just understood the platform, and it just grew from there. You're on mute. Erica, you're on mute.
Rookie mistake, Erica.
Yes. I have my daughter running back and forth yelling because she could care less about being loud. I was just saying to Jonaed that I think it's great that he knew right away that he could hire himself, because it took me a minute. And yeah, I did it for myself, but I didn't consider that being a real job. I waited till somebody had said, hey, do this for me and I'll give you money. And then I was like, oh, yeah. How about the rest of you guys? Did you guys know that you could hire yourself right away, or did you wait till somebody pay you?
I can share story. I started doing virtual events back in 2016. So yeah, it was not very popular. It was not even pre-COVID. It was pre-COVID. So what happened is that I worked for a very, very tiny company. It was like 2.5 men basically. And we were running growth marketing conference around the country. We did it in San Francisco, in New York, and we did a little bit in Europe. But we figured that between the in-person events, you kind of have to keep up with your audience. And how do you do that? How do you make sure that they actually staying with you and actually coming back and attract more and more new audience to your event? And we figured that we'll just use the digital platform for that. So we started doing virtual summits, which were a huge success, and we were running them live. We did not record anything. No, well, we did record because we ran into contingency plans and all of that. But basically, this is how I started. And when I switched to freelancing and my own thing, it happened exactly at the end of 2020, when people were figuring out, like, how do I actually how do I do that? Because people were scared doing it live. People were scared for the sponsors and things like that. So here I was. I was like, I'll tell you how to do that. So it was kind of hard to overcome, like my own, boundaries and the imposter syndrome, obviously. But then I figured it out. I'm just helping people, and people are willing to pay. So why the hell not? So
That's really cool. Erica, you're on mute again. I guess I'll go ahead and share really quick. From my end is I actually started with a brand, Ecamm. I'm actually wearing their shirt tonight by chance. And they do a thing called Leap into Live Stream, where we teach other people how to live stream. And I have a show that I was streaming, and I basically duplicated one of my shows with a co-host and a couple of guests inside of their camp streaming for their boot camp. And it was really cool. And that was my first opportunity of basically doing what I do on a weekly basis, but inside of a webinar. And it was a cool experience, and was really my first time. And now we figured out ways to be able to do it on our own as well.
Like that. So now I gotta ask, because I'm nosy. Do you prefer live streaming to webinars, or do you prefer webinars?
Well, personally, I would do live stream webinars. Put it all together. They're formulated just a little differently, but the idea that you could stream it live and be spontaneous, there is a level of technical issues that could come about. But if you've used the very best systems with a couple of redundancies, it could come off really well. And the audience, I feel, would appreciate it better by it being live, that you can engage with them and all that kind of thing. That's just my perspective on it. So a live stream webinar could go over really good for audience engagement. Now, that's depending on what your audience is, what your goal is, and all of that, but that's how I like to do it.
Nice. So Jonaed, I want to ask you about your training. How did you get your training for running your Remo events?
So we just trained ourselves. We were just hanging on the platforms. Things would crash. And you know how it is. Refresh fixes like 95% of all issues, right? On we know that. But we would do things and we test things like, hey, what if you open this in 2 tabs? What if you come in on your phone? What if you come in on a different browser? What if you come here? What if you have on YouTube? And you just keep on doing it. So then you kind of get an idea of like, okay, here are the steps, here are the common things. And then we were close with the team that we'd get updates on things. But I always say, you want to learn, just put yourself in there. I think like if you ever want to learn even physical events, just start volunteering at events, see what could go wrong, see what happens. And you're going to learn. And then even after doing that, you're always going to come in to interesting issues. Like, hey, this person's coming on this iPad from 10 years ago. Oh, you know what? And then we learn, oh, you got to have at least this version of iOS. But I think for virtual, it's like you have to be immersed in that problem. And you have to assume that people don't have the technology you have. Like DJ Strick is coming in with the hi-fi camera, but you got to assume that people are coming in on their grainy laptop camera and things happen. And we've even encountered issues where it was very specific models, like a specific model of a laptop, and they had something going in, and we talked to IT people. So that's how I learned the platform, just platform in and out. And then once you learn one platform, some of the principles will translate, some of them won't. Because I know, like, if DJ Strick is I believe you're an actual DJ, but when he goes to a venue, right, there are certain things that he's going to realize of particular, like older buildings are going to have these issues. Newer buildings, you have to know X, Y, Z. But I'm pretty sure no matter what, in all his years of DJing, there's always something new that happens, and you just add it to your repertoire.
More of a radio DJ. That has been my experience in my talent years.
But I gotta say, Jonaed, that sounds like you had a lot of confidence, because I would be scared if I had to train myself learn the platform, and then host an event for other people. I would be scared.
Now, look, we were on the platform for like hundreds of hours. So it's not like, hey, we're on it for a weekend. We would literally hang out for like 4 or 5, because it was COVID. What are you going to do? You're not going outside. We just hang out
Right.
and we had an open room and we just go in and we'd hang out because we had like a 24-hour an ongoing event that's still actually going to this day. But people would just hop in. It was like a friend, like hey, this is a neighborhood area where we hang out. And so it was like hundreds of hours. So, and the good thing is that the first event wasn't that big. It was like, whatever, 20 people. The next event was like bigger and we made it work. And then we had bigger events. And then as you do it, you just realize like bigger is just, hey, just more planning, more people. You have to just be on top of everything just a little more, because when things go wrong, things always go wrong in virtual events. You just have to be on top of it.
That's right.
Yeah, the key to pretty much any event, whether it's in person or virtual, first of all, you test, and then you go through your contingency plan. Like, what am I going to do when speaker's camera is not working? What am I going to do if their mic is not working? What am I going to do if their internet craps out? And things like that. So you always have to think in advance. Like, you have to think through every fail that might happen and how you're going to fix it. Like, when you come prepared, you're gonna feel more confident, and your client feels more confident. Like, a lot of people asking me about question, like a lot of questions are like, have you been in situation when something like that happened? And sure enough, I've been in situation where the speaker couldn't log into the platform. They're just like, and I mean, like, that's a common problem because they're always using different emails, and we've all been there.
Had that happen.
Exactly. So basically, what we did while he was trying to get in, he couldn't get in. One of our people get on a separate Zoom call with him to record his session while we played pre-recorded session in place of his live session. So we swapped it and we ran it as live. And then we recorded him separately while he was there, because he was very important dude and we didn't want to lose him. He's not there every day ready to go live, So we just recorded him and we played it on the bottom of our hour, basically. And we apologized, obviously, and we explained what happened, technical difficulties, but here you are, he's not live, but he's recorded and you're getting the value. So yeah.
That's smart. And I've never thought about doing that until just now, because you told me. So I've had speakers not show up, but all I did was run a recording of their past interviews with me. But I didn't think that, hey, I can have a separate Zoom. And now I know. I learned a lot from Alla. Okay, let me read something from Toya Glenn. Toya couldn't be here because she's not feeling well, but she's hanging out with us in the chat. And her response to that last question is, I learned by getting the jobs and paying expert teams to do the work. Smart. Yeah. I would watch them and then build a team, and she did it herself. So yeah, smart. I didn't think about that either. I did assume I must do this stuff myself. I must learn this stuff myself so I can make sure that other people know what they're doing, but that's not how she went. So I got to tell you guys a quick story about Alla, because Alla is amazing if you guys don't know her. I went through a 6-week program to learn Hey Summit. I ran a pre-recorded event, and then Alla took the time to show me new things about Hey Summit, and I was comfortable with running events after she taught me what she knew. So yeah, a lot of people won't go out of their way to do that, but she's very generous with her time and information. So I still appreciate that, Alla. And this was what, 2019?
No,
2020?
2020. Yeah, it was COVID. Yeah, this is when I part ways with the conference that I was working for gosh, 5 years, and I was trying to do my thing. So I was like, I know so much. I need to I need to start making money off of it, but at the same time, I can help more people. I did not charge anyone, like I didn't ask for any money, but I was like, why not to share it? And, and we can continue and we can collaborate in the future. So it's just blending like and creating network. So it was my pleasure working with you. And by the way, I mean, I've been watching your journey from back then, guys. Erica was like the person like sitting like that in front of her camera, and like she was so scared. Like I can tell she was even scared talking to me. And I was like, relax. Like, and look at her right now, all bubbly and chatty. I mean, great
I
job.
was really scared.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing progress and how you powering through with like consistency. And we talked about it, be consistent and just train your audience and bring more people. I mean, like good job. It's just amazing. I'm so proud of you. Good job.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. Can I add one thing? I want to say one of the ways that I've learned a lot about platforms is trying to manage client requests, because clients sometimes will be like, I'm just going to give an example. Hey, can we have 5 speakers on? And let's say the platform limit is 4. So then we're like, hey, how can we make it happen? Hey, can we stream from over here? And I always try to say, hey, let me get back to you. I do think if I do it this way, we'll figure it out. And I remember like I was creative. Like I have 4 monitors, right? You need lots of monitors when you do virtual events. And we would have things running over here. I'd have my laptop over here. I have my business partner over there. Like we just got really creative, because as an events person, our goal is to make sure that our clients can get what they want within reason. So when you can deliver and you're like, wow, I can't believe you did that. It's like, hey, can we have this music playing in during the event? And we're like, you know what? How can we play it in? We have this functionality. What are we going to do? Then you live stream music this way. So it's all about being creative in solving your client's problem, because a platform will give you tools. It's your job as an event planner to figure out how you can use those tools in unconventional ways.
I like that. That is really smart, because I do find a lot of tools. I'm a sumo ling. I am an app sumo addict. I have a lot of tools, and I feel like I need to use these because there's so many fun things that I can do with them, and so many fun ways that I can show people automation, because I'm also addicted to automation. So now I want to ask you guys about, when did you know that it was okay to let go and delegate? Let me start. I just thought I knew what I was doing. I asked a family member, hey, would you help me with this event? And they said yes. And I assumed that since they were family, and they said yes, and they helped me out. So I asked them again for another event. They said yes. And then the day of, they totally hurt my feelings by saying that I don't want to do this.
Wow.
My feelings are still hurt. But I found people who know events, and they love events, and they want to do events. And they told me that they were willing to help me. So I finally let go again a year and some months later. It was okay. And working with them, I found that it was fun to work with people who like and love and know what they're doing. So how was it for you guys? When did you know it was okay to let go and delegate?
I can start, because I think my example is really funny. So not to brag, that was during Olympic Games. I was a press manager at the hockey arena. I arrived there first before my manager arrived there. So I was like, I was assigned to set up everything, all the facilities for the press. I had no idea what I was doing, like zero, zilch, because I'm coming from the journalistic, like TV production background, but I've never worked on the other side. Like I've never set up things for the press, yeah. So anyway, a lot of work. I don't understand what's going on around me. Like I keep going back and forth with my manager, who is in Australia. So it's a huge time difference, and it's just mind-boggling. And on top of that, they send us 40 volunteers. Olympic Games volunteers, and they assign per different departments, different functions, and all that. So imagine I'm running there like a headless chicken, and then you have 40 people, different ages, from different countries, different level of language. And they're like, so now you need to figure out like what they're gonna do there. And I'm like, oh my God. And to be honest, that was the moment when I'm like, okay, I think now I know what the delegation is. And that taught me how to easily let things go and just let it run, and then just try and fix it on the way. Maybe it's not the best practice for everything, but at that point, that was seriously the only way to solve that problem, to just let it go and delegate it. So you just need to be super smart and strategic, like what is it exactly you're delegating and who you're delegating it to. But after that experience, believe me, I don't have this problem anymore. If I find a person who I can like delegate and like put something off of my plate, I'll do it like in a heartbeat. Like for me, it's not a problem anymore. So that was my lesson, and it was many years ago. Yeah.
So I actually started with a lot of my work with a co-host, right? And I always thought that it would be better. We're coming through COVID at the time. The world is shut down. We had a chemistry and a dichotomy between the two of us that I thought would gain respect for a larger audience or a larger pool. And that's what I think when you're collaborating with people or partnering with other people and delegating, it gives you an opportunity to use some of their influence and some of their energy to get the work done. And it didn't work out for me the first time. But I did not stop with the idea that collaboration and partnership is not good. So over time, I actually found other people as I continue to grow that understood what I was doing and the power of the live stream that I had and the events that we were doing, that some people, they started to ask me, hey, can I come and do this? Because they recognized I didn't have a co-host anymore. And of course, I understood what kind of influence that the people were asking me to come on, which I thought they had more influence than I did. Hey, come with me. Let's do this together. And it has worked to benefit. I think collaboration and the delegation is one of those things that I teach in any form of whether it's event, streaming, or trying to be a creator or whatever. It just helps everyone when you can collaborate and have people come alongside of you to do the work, and understanding how if I'm good at one thing, which I love to host, this other person may be good with the technical side, and together you really could have a good team. And I just believe that teamwork makes the dream work. I'm one of those kind of people. I know it's cliche, but as much as you can get other people to come on board with you to help, the better off you are.
Yeah, right away.
In cliches.
Yeah, I delegated right away because in events is one of those industries where it's like there's only so much you can do. Like it's not like, okay, you're a graphic designer, okay, you could have a solo business getting clients and all that. Some of them they hesitate to like delegate, but when you're in events, it's a team effort from the beginning. Like unless you're planning like a birthday party with like a few people, it's a team effort where you got to do a lot. And especially when you're doing a virtual event, you need tech support. So it's like, do you want to work with the clients or do you want to do tech support? And look, I have done tech support for these events, but I had other people doing other things. So it's like, you need to be on the move to make sure all these things are going. And as an event person, you have to make sure everything is going the way it is. And you can't do that if you don't delegate. The fact is, it's like, you're just going to have a bad event because if you try to provide tech support, you're spending 20 minutes because someone doesn't know how to refresh. Now the client is like, hey, why isn't the speaker showing up? Why isn't this showing up? Especially if you have an event with multiple speakers, you should have bandwidth to deal with them. Because I know there were some issues when we would have live support calls. sometimes you spend 10 to 20 minutes for a speaker to get through. So now it's like you're on hold and multitasking doesn't work. So you can't be on hold talking to a client. So delegate right away. I think as a business owner, you just have to learn how to do it, you'll never grow without it.
Right.
I usually like to have at least 4 people with me, and I still get hung up on that one person that didn't want to show up. But yeah. When hosting events, I do a tech check. I've learned my lesson of not calling it a tech check because I have some speakers that don't feel like they need to show up for that. I call it a meet and greet, but at the same time, I'm checking their height of their monitor or their camera. I'm checking their sound, and I tell them that it's okay for them to talk to the other speakers, and that's how I do it. I've done it so many times when I tell people this is a tech check and they don't show up. So I had to make it that kind of a secret. Have you guys ever had to do that? Do things in secret with your speakers or your sponsors so they would show up for a tech check?
No, I usually just tell them if you're not going to show up, it's going to flop, you're going to look bad. And that's usually enough for pretty much any speaker, especially the bigger the company, the less they want to look bad and give bad impression. I think the only time we were so annoyed with the team that I work with when it was actually pre-recording, but the speaker was at the airport. The audacity of that person. And imagine my engineers who are like sitting there, and then editors working their magic off to balance the background, because it's airport. It was so annoying. And he was like, yeah, I'm kind of sorry, but that's the only time. I'm like everything was prepared for you, dude. And this is pre-recording. You could have just, but that's the problem with the panels. Like especially when your client wants to put 55 people on a panel and they try to manage and like cram them all at the same time. 1 or 2 will flop. Like this will happen. So, but yeah, in general, no, I never had to trick them into that. I'm just, nah. I mean,
You're great at picking clients.
I'm like, dude, you're gonna look bad. So it's not on me, it's on you. So
I've never thought about telling them that they would look bad if they didn't show up, but that's a good idea now.
And yeah, you definitely want to do your very best job of letting them know the benefit of the time that you're going to do this tech check, like the importance of it and why. But you also want to be sure that you mandate that for those people, because if they don't do it and they come onto your show, not only do they look bad, but you can look bad as well. It's one of those things that now I have the benefit of a lot of the people that I work with are already in the industry that know how to come on. I've seen some of their stuff before. I know they know how to come on to the network and to the platform to make it look good. And it is their job and what they do to look good. And if they don't do it, of course, it will extremely make them look bad, and the business that they were trying to get, they wouldn't get it. So yes, we do the checks, but it is on my guests to be sure that they look as good as they possibly can, that they can be heard as good as they possibly can. And I have the benefit of the niche that I'm in, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Nice. D. Jason Hodge is calling it orientation and walkthroughs. Let me read what Toya Glenn has said. So I started my entrepreneur journey as a virtual assistant. When I started, I created a community for women business. I can't read it because I can't get this thing from blocking the words. Women businesses, we co-worked over the years and collaborated naturally. When I needed producers and folks to create assets, I drew from my community. That's a good idea, having a community of people you can work with. Nice. So drew from my community. No. So, but times with the assistants, sometimes the assistants will do the tech check because the speakers are busy, as long as the equipment works. So, like when Alla said, when I didn't have the speaker show up because she couldn't log on, she was at the airport. So that's why I had to use the interview that we pre-recorded.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I didn't think of using another Zoom room. We were in AirMeet, but if I had another Zoom room open, we probably could have went with a pre-recorded video and then showed.
like to have someone reliable who you can just send to another room basically and say, so like, hey, can you just record this person quickly while they're online? Like she can't log in here, but she can log into just a regular Zoom and just boom, boom, and record her real quick, because editing will take you like, I don't know, 30 seconds basically after that, and upload on the agenda. So, and with the assistants, Toya, I kind of like this idea and I don't like this idea at the same time, because yes, assistants might join from their work computers, but they can't guarantee that the speaker will be joining from the same room with the same laptop with the same camera. This is
Right.
like, I mean, like these are the basics. You have to use very good internet to make sure you're doing your tech check from the same location that you're going to be live streaming from. Make sure it's the same laptop, make sure it's the same camera. So I don't know, assistant is doing what exactly there? Sitting in their office or in their home office? Like, what's the point? You know, but
Because it could be something very small as having someone on Wi-Fi and not the Ethernet. You know, that could really destroy over time. It can destroy a live feed if it's on Wi-Fi. So having the assistant's computer and not the real computer, it really could affect the whole stream.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
You guys are.
I have found that the higher up you get, the less professional they are. Like airports, cabins in the wood that has no Wi-Fi during the day of the event. And I have found that like people who are closer to the bottom, they're like there to show up. Hey, I want to make sure I look good in front of everyone. But I found that sometimes, not everyone, but you got a lot of people higher up. It's like they only have I don't get this, but I find this with some people who are older, that they only have an iPad, and it's like, that makes it very tough when it's like, hey, like you can't, like if you don't have a laptop and you want to present, like that's an issue. And I've seen this with a lot of executives, and thankfully sometimes we get it working, but it gets real finicky depending on which version they have.
Right. That's why my favorite industry is tech companies. Those folks are usually even a little bit older. They unfortunately the problem of ageism is real there. So they don't really have like older people, but even if they do, they're pretty tech savvy. But God forbid you work with some other industries that are like, one of my clients, they're like scientists. They're like very scientists. And I remember I had a tech check with one of the scientists who literally started his conversation with me. I hate tech. I hate computers. And I'm like, we are off to a great start with you, my man. So, but kudos to him. He actually was the only one who wanted to do it live. He said, I'm not going to pre-record myself. I'm going to do it live because I know the material and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not afraid. I'm going to do it live, but you need to walk me like from A to Z and hand hold me through the whole process. I was like, no problem.
Nice. It's good to work with people who want to work with you. I have worked with people who had no idea what I was talking about, and that made me sad. But working with people who knows about tech, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question, or a few more questions. What qualities do you I can't even say it now, prioritize when hiring new team members for your company? Is it anything that you look for that makes you excited? It's like, yes, for me, if you know the answers, if you know how to use a platform and you understand me when I'm talking with you, that makes me feel comfortable that you understand me.
I can agree with that. Looking for someone that, of course, knows the language, have some experience doing the work. They don't have to be like 100% proficient, but they need to have some, at least one or two things that they're really, really good at that could be taken off of my plate.
Yeah, I'll add that I would probably look for, and I look for someone who can complement, who can benefit my lackings, like basically what I'm lacking of. I
Right.
want that person to like match, like jigsaw pieces basically. Because if I'm not really good at copywriting, I want them to be good at it. If I'm bad at like live streaming and not understanding Zoom, I want them to do that. So we can complement each other and we can make this like event even bigger and better, so that these are important things that I would look into and would look for in a new hire for sure.
Yeah, for me, the first hire I had was someone who already worked for me in another business. So we did that. And then it was just all referrals. I think for like events, for virtual events, we hired just all referrals. And I think other than like one or two people, they're all very good and they were very supportive. And the good thing about virtual events is as we got bigger and we had to expand more, when we distributed teams, we had one experienced person and then maybe one less experienced and then one new. So that way you didn't have a team of all new people. And then you try them out and then you ask for feedback like, hey, how was it working with that person? Some people are like, hey, this person was amazing. Hey, this person was okay. Here's where they could improve on. But we got a good idea. So I always find with virtual events, you can always test things. And also, when you have an event, hire extra people who are new so they're not on the spot and they're still helping out, but then they're learning so that when you do need that person, they don't have to get up to speed as much.
Am I the only one who feels that Jonaed is never scared? Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel
he's
like he's just
definitely
so
a
brave.
go-getter. He's definitely a go-getter.
The thing is, it's like it was a new industry, right? So it was like, what is there to be scared about? Like, what are you gonna compare it to?
Exactly.
So if you mess up, you just blame, and you could blame the platform all the time.
All
Hey,
the
it's the
time.
platform, it's the platform, it's the platform. But I find that, look, if you could do physical events, whereas like if you don't have chairs, you're not gonna get chairs in 30 minutes, right? That's something that should have been done. If you don't have the food, right? That's something that's if you want to fix it, it's gonna cost you a lot of money to deliver some food in X amount of time. Whereas virtually, I think you just have way more flexibility, way more options. I think like sometimes when I had internet issues, I worked out of my friend's house. You could do that, right? So you just get so much more flexibility for virtual events.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Virtual events are like the level of stress much lower compare in the outcome in the problem solving is much lower. It's like I can't even compare it because I'm working like currently working on both sides, so they uncomparable, absolutely uncomparable. Yeah.
When
And
I got
they
my
have the
first
ability to
client,
be, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, when I got my first client, somebody who was willing to pay me to do virtual events, I just thought I would ruin my name and Erica Bates would be associated with, don't work with her because she doesn't know what she's doing. And
Oh,
that just
man.
like, that was like, luckily it worked out. What were you going to say, DJ Strick?
Well, I mean, you said a mouthful right there, especially in contrast with some of the other things that's been said tonight. That confidence will only come by you practicing,
True.
actually doing it over and over and over again. And you know it. Now, I've already said this, of course, that if you're doing something live, something's going to happen. It's not going to be a perfect event because it is live. Something will always happen. You have to prepare
Jinx
for
it.
something to happen. And also, um, doing events, the best way to be able to handle something happening, of course, is trying your very best to go down all of your list of these are my redundancies if something does happen, or this is my step B and C. And also just being confident and working it out and being calm. your audience, if something doesn't go right, we talked about this. Hey, I pressed this button yesterday and I promise you it worked. It's not working today. Give me a second. Let's work this out. Having clear communication to your audience, even when it's something that's not working tech-wise the way you want it to be, will give them a sense of calm and not, you won't see people dropping off because something went wrong. You'll see people staying on with you and being patient during that time. But if you're frantic and I can't believe this has happened and this is the worst thing ever, and you're communicating that, not just verbally, but in all your actions, you're just frantic. When you fall to pieces, guess what? Your event falls to pieces. So you want to try to, keep it together, stay calm, even though, it really, really could be a tough thing. But try to work through it so that you could make the event better. Because, if you're the person that's hosting, and I'm saying that from my point of view, because I would host most of the events and, also produce. So, my ability to stay calm behind the scenes and also talk to the audience is one of the things that I think have saved a lot of the events because something will go wrong.
And
Yeah.
I want to
I've had
say,
that happen.
I didn't say yes to everything. There were some things I was like, no. I'm not trying to look bad. I'm not trying to have XYZ. So what I always did was I said, yeah, like I think I used the analogy of a rubber band. Like you want to stretch it, but you don't want to rip it. So
Right.
I made sure to stretch myself, say yes to bigger things, but not to the point that I was like, hey, if someone said, hey, we want to host an event for 200,000 people online, I'm going to be like, that's a totally different thing, right? That's a, I can't even raise the staff for that. And, the funding and the platforms, that's like, that those events, like the CEOs of these companies get involved because it's a lot of people, it's a lot of load, right? You have to prep because you don't even know if they could handle it. Sometimes they'll say we can handle up to 100,000 attendees, but then doing it is different. You may have the plan for it, but 99.99% of users don't use it. These are like the rare events. So I'm always mindful of, can I do it? What have I done before? And if I can't do it, or who do I partner with to be able to do it? If I, and now that I have more event professionals, I may be like, hey, Erica, they're saying this. Do you think it's feasible, or should I say no? And then partner with people and then kind of share the events and share the work.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, in the events industry, especially if you're running your own business, if you're a freelancer, producer, don't bite more than you can chew. You definitely need to be like very, very aware of what you're doing and how much you can handle, how many projects you can handle, what like is the event big or small. It's very, very important. And working with the confidence, I like like all my life, like I would enter the room with like the biggest ego and confidence. That's why I'm like, I'm able to sell myself, but then I'm like pooping my pants, pardon my French, because I'm like, did I make a mistake right now? Because it's like, it seems so big. But then to be honest, what I've learned is to set expectations for your clients and use very specific vocabulary. For instance, one of my clients, she's always like asking questions and I know the answer is no, it's impossible, or like it is going to cost you a lot. But here's what I've learned. I never say no, but I say, let me look into that. Then I take my time to come up with a very elaborate answer, but not like it's not impossible, but it's like, I look into that and these are the options and blah, 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 So I've learned how to communicate, and it gives them more like they rely more on my expertise because they see that I'm not that person like, sure, I can do it, and then I fail, or I say like, no, absolutely not. So you see, there are ways how you can work with your clients, and you actually creating this like like a cushion for yourself if something happens. So just need to be very careful how you word everything.
Great idea. Let me read some of these comments. Toya Glenn says, we are so lucky to do this, especially during COVID, so brand new clients could make errors. And she says, yes, who we partner with. So who we partner with makes a difference. And Jason is asking, are you still using Remo? And if so, I'm not sure, what Reggie do you have to share? So I'm thinking this is for you, Jonaed.
Yeah, so we did a Remo event recently. We have used AirMate more because one of our clients, due to compliance things and PII, which stands for personally identifiable info, they have some compliance because once you start getting to these larger companies, sometimes if they know their employees are going to be on the tool and they're going to log in with their corporate emails, they're very sensitive of which platforms they use and all that. So we've been using AirMe. We've been scaling down the virtual events just because I think once, as you know, all these companies like Hopin and all that stuff, their valuations went crazy, and as soon as in person came back, it's just much tougher. And I find that it's a much tougher sell. I still think they have great value, but I think a lot of people just are not, used to it because they've been to bad virtual events because they just think virtual events are just Zoom when it's like, no, there's so much more than that. But we, and we are partnering with people on some remote events, so hoping to do more.
Hoping to partner with you on a Remo event too. So
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Toya is asking what was this question about Remo, and she was asking Jason. So I have more on this list of questions, just a few more. So let me find my list again. I'm using my phone to read my list. So how do you assess candidates' culture fit with your event planning team? I really like people who know what they're doing. That makes me feel good. And to work with other people who know what they're doing, I think makes the team feel comfortable. So, and how I know what they're doing, I want to say, like Toya Glenn has said, pulling from a pool of like a culture community, or pulling from a community. I've done that. I recognize it's good to have friends, and pulling from that community, knowing that community and each person in it, that's very helpful.
I agree.
So,
I've used that myself, pulling from a community, and some people will self-identify themselves, or they feel like they have something to offer, and they would share inside of the community. It's like, hey, I really like what that person is doing, and I would contact them and say, hey, I would like to, have you be a part of what I'm doing. And most people will always agree, even if it's a very small part.
that is actually how I get some of my jobs. I go to communities like a Facebook group. I'll befriend a admin. I'll go to the search bar. I type talking about what I do, and then I'll throw in my 2 cents. Then I'll throw in some like short videos of how to, and then the admin will come back and it's like, hey, do you want to do this with us? And I'm like, yes, I do, because that was my plan all along.
Right.
How about you, Jonaed? Any culture fits?
Honestly, people who are curious, who are willing to learn, who are flexible, adaptable. You have to be adaptable and flexible in the events industry.
Yeah, I think my events are mostly, like I mentioned, tech companies, and they're like huge events, or they field marketing events, and they're very, very industry specific. But I see that more companies care about not so much like culture, but diversity fit, like there are more voices are given to people of color, the different genders and things like that. So I think that's it, that is incredibly important, because back in the day, like when I started running my conference back in 2015, for instance, it was like my boss used to call it sausage fest because we only have white men on the stage presenting. We didn't have any women, we didn't have any people of color. It it was seriously, it was just like that. But then when we started noticing that, and I'm like, is it like are they the only people that we can like talk to, and are they like seriously the only experts in the field? Like, I don't believe it. But
Right.
to be honest, it's very interesting. It was very interesting to me because when we start inviting more and more women, specifically, we wanted to invite more women, especially in Bay Area. I mean, come on, there are plenty of women that are actually in VP and higher roles. But what was interesting to me, they were declining. They didn't want to do that because they're like, well, I'm not sure. I'm too shy. I'm that. I'm this. And I'm like, seriously, you made it that far. You made it that far, girl. And you cannot go and be an example for all the ladies and other people there. So I started like pushing them and, like convincing them that's your voice. Like, we have to do that. If it's not you, who else is going to do that?
That's true.
So yeah, so that's and when I work with my clients, I always point this out. But at this point, everybody's trained on that and seriously like looking deeper into more folks that are they go not even it's not even like, oh no, let's specifically look for Asian speaker for our panel. We'll look into a variety of people that actually fit that specific panel or talk, but we're going to be open for everyone. We're not going to just grab the first person and go with them. So that's nice to see that change for sure.
All right. Jonaed, you have more questions about using Remo in the comments. Toya was asking if you still use Remo, and yes, you do. And your thoughts on its viability. And she was also asking about Ring Central, formerly of Hopin. So you think Remo's going to be around a while?
Around, you never know with these companies, right? Because I think it's a good platform, but maintaining a company, maintaining staff, keeping it updated with technology, things are always changing. I like it. I still think for certain types of events that have networking heavy focus, it does a great job. I mean, people like it, and they've improved a lot. Like, it's a lot. People come in on their phones and all that. But I always say it's like platforms. There are a lot of platforms that are similar. So I say like the platform isn't as big as how do you use the platform? How do you make an engaging event? What's the goal of the networking event or whatever event that you're doing for your client? And then the tool is like, you can use any tool almost, right? A lot of these platforms, they've added more features over the years. I would say that in the beginning, Remo was very novel, but AirMeet has some similarities, and the bells and whistles kind of change.
Right. I got to point out to the Jason Hodge that we have another AirMeet fan here, and I am happy about that. Jason doesn't really care for AirMeet because he has a hard time getting on the platform with his phone, but it's so nice, especially when you use your desktop. I have another question here. How has remote work influenced your hiring process for events? I mean, it's all I know. I don't know any other way.
I agree with
Same
that.
for you guys?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the pandemic just made it so much easier. And doing it remotely, you can have it enlarges your pool of people that you can grab from. You're basically worldwide, depending on the time zones that you're at.
Exactly. Yeah, because you don't restrict yourself to certain area. Like if the company is headquartered in San Francisco and New York, but they are looking, in my case, I work with a couple of companies currently. They're huge companies, and they were looking for freelancers to help them out with like certain projects, and it's ongoing contract with both of them. But they do not like restrict themselves with like, oh, we only need someone who's in New York. Like, why? Like, they didn't care about it. So
Right.
because who cares where you're running the webinar from? You could be like anywhere in the world, as long as you're responsible and you know what you're doing. Nobody cares where you are. This is the smart hire. But I still see a lot of hirings restricting themselves to bigger cities, and they want you to work from the office from time to time. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if anyone is going to be happy anymore working from the office at this point.
Heard that if we don't go back to offices, it's going to ruin real estate for other people. But I don't
Potentially.
know. I'm repeating what I heard.
Corporate real estate could be an issue. Business real estate could be an issue. Commercial real estate could be an issue. But you know, we are somewhere live streaming, probably our home. So, you know, that real estate should be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, I think about this where it's like, okay, like this guy with 3 buildings now has to sell one of his buildings. Cool. Like, okay, like he could send it to us and we could all share it. But yeah,
I like that.
I think at the end of the day, it's like if your client wants to have a goal and a virtual event helps facilitate that goal, or are you going to be like, oh no, the people with flip phones they're losing out on business if you do it this way? It's like at the end of the day, it's like our goal is to add value to clients. Sometimes it's in-person events, sometimes it's virtual events, and it doesn't matter. And I think each have their place. It's just going to change, and the world's going to continuously change, and all that. And I think some of the benefits of virtual events is like I have done events with people all over the world on multiple time zones, right? A lot of people don't realize about how inaccessible physical events are. I would love to go to conferences every other week, right? But you know, flying, hotels, traveling, doing the work. Whereas, like, hey, I enjoyed that. I could go to a virtual event for 2-3 hours and then get back to work, right? Whereas when I go to a physical event, I'm in another city sometimes for these conferences. Then I got to plan the day before. I got to coordinate this. I got to go pack. I got to go do this. Then you got to get from the airport. You got to meet the people in the city, and then you got to leave. So I think the world's going to change, and I do think that we have to adjust with some changes, but we have to look at the benefits of these changes. And like, it's just so cool that I have a business partner that I was in business for 4 years before I ever met him in person. Think about how wild that is. Think about, like, in the 90s, you're gonna say, hey, I've never met my business partner. He's like in another state, and you think it's so wild, but now it's more normal. So I think we should embrace that side.
I worked with a lady from South Africa. I met her for the first time, like after 4 years working with her. Imagine that. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I've been working with her for 4 years. Every day we would communicate and do things together. And we finally met at one of the conferences. Yeah. I was shocked. I was like, that's amazing experience. Yeah. But with the bigger companies, it's so wild to me to see how they're like obviously planted posts and articles how it's beneficial to work from the office. Whilst I look at the LinkedIn jobs for fun sometimes, just to see how much they pay, how much peanuts they pay to event people. And you know what? If you like for just fun, you can go and do it yourself. If you click on the job that says on site, like in office, see how many applications going to be there, like 15, 20, but remote 500 plus. And I'm like, I mean, like, come on, guys, who are you kidding? Like, who wants to go back to the office? People literally moved out from big cities because they didn't want to stay there. And now you want to bring them back where the rent skyrocketed, like, but you don't want to raise their salaries. I mean, do the math, guys.
That's
Like,
right.
yeah, I understand you need to pay rent for your building in downtown of Atlanta, but it's not happening.
You know, and the other thing is, it's like hybrid. If I think companies, let's say you need some in person, why don't they do 2 days? I feel like 2 days, most people are like, you know what, I'll do a long commute 2 days. But once you do the third day, it's a slog.
Yeah. But on the other hand, just think about it. Imagine the company that hires you, they're like, I want you to be 2 days in the office, the rest, like you work, whatever. Why do you still want to stay in the big city and pay higher rent when you can find a remote job and live in Savannah, Georgia, where I am right now, which Well, it's a whole different story. The rental is insane here too, but still it's cheaper than any bigger city, right? So I'm like, if you even if you asking me for 2 days, I'll still say no because I don't want to pay these, like, I don't know, $3,000 rent in the big city versus what I'm paying here. So it's, yeah, even this hybrid BS is still BS.
Let me read some of these comments from our live audience here. Toya Glenn says, we are not married to these platforms. That's true. And Jason says, boo to my air meat comment, but I still like it. But now it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to stop this live stream. But before I do, in the order I see you guys in, Jonaed, would you please tell people where they can find you? Like, what's your favorite social media platform?
Yeah, I'll put in the Zoom chat, but if you search up my name, Jonaed, last name Iqbal, but even the first one, you'll find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I create a lot of funny, humorous videos. I'm on
They're
TikTok,
great.
Instagram. So I'm the founder of nodegree.com. So that's where, if you search that up, you'll easily find me.
People find you. What's your favorite social media platform?
I'm sorry, your audio. Are you on me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was actually putting it in the chat as well. Bio dot link /Strick, STRICK. That's my bio link that gives you all of the platforms and all of the things that I'm working on, and a couple of free ebooks as well. So bio.link /Strick. You can actually bio.link.strick. And again, I'm gonna put it in the chat so we can put it up. You guys can see it.
Okay, Alla, where can people find you? What's your favorite social media platform?
Business. I don't post much these days. I think universe, I'm very busy right now, so I don't really have time. I lurk from time to time or see notifications and answer, but that's the best way to reach out to me. If you want to learn about my previous projects, it's on my website, astar.events. I'm gonna, yeah, hold on a second, let me, yeah, it's right here. I put it in the chat. So yeah, connect if you want. Yeah, check out my website if you're interested in hiring an event freelancer. So yeah, thank you so much, Erica, for inviting us. That was such an incredible chat. I always down to chat with my people, the event people. So yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
All right, I appreciate you guys being here. So if you guys are watching this via live stream, we're about to stop it soon, but I want you to know that everyone here is absolutely brilliant in what they do. Toya wasn't able to be live with us on camera, but I assure you that she is brilliant at what she does. And we've heard a little bit from D. Jason Hodge. Again, if you're not here, you're missing out on networking with literally brilliant people. So I'm Erica Bates. This is the Virtual Summiteers Peer Group. And if you want to meet more brilliant people like the ones you see here, join the Virtual Summiteers Peer Group. Other than that, we'll see you on the next live stream.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
So I am stopping.